Whoa.
He was eventually...
I have to say, that is probably one of the scariest things that I could ever imagine.
Horrifying. Dudes.
What?
This is the Feel Good Friday episode. Guess what number?
What number?
69. 69, baby! Woo! 69! Folks,
My second favorite number.
this is, it's really fun. It's fun that this episode, Feel Good Friday, FGF, we've been doing this now for 69 weeks. And it took 69 weeks before we have been given the opportunity to basically book our second vaccinations. I know technically it's not right now, but it's here. It's right here. Coincidence?
Nah.
I think
Nah,
not.
nah, nah, nah,
I think not.
Nice.
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 Folks, if you've been listening to the Feel Good Friday episodes, I want to say, first of all, thank you. So glad that you've been with us for 69 episodes. And let's...
That's hilarious.
That's fucking hilarious, right? So let's dive right into it. I got some good news. Good news on a Feel Good Friday for our 69th episode. We should have actually covered this on our 68th episode, but we forgot. Big news in the CF community here in Canada because the persistence and constant belief is finally paying off. Health Canada announced last Friday that cystic fibrosis, the drug Trikafta, is now available to be prescribed by doctors across Canada.
Hell yeah.
Which is a huge motherfucking step. Big shout out to Steph Stavros and the entire team over at CF Get Loud.
You know what's crazy is hopefully, because I think that all of this great news is happening because this is the, as you said, iconic 69th Feel Good Friday episode.
Yeah.
It's crazy though, because we've also recorded, wasn't 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, our 300th normal episode with a guest who lives with illness.
It hasn't come out yet.
Oh, we recorded it.
We've recorded
Way
300.
to spoil it, Brian.
We recorded 300 Monday episodes.
But we've also in total recorded over 400 episodes now with the Feel Good Friday, the Monday episodes, and the routine checkups on Wednesday. But I just want to say that I think
if you count some of the conversations that we've had off the show, it's probably close to 10,000 or something.
But we're talking about the podcast
crazy.
here, and the good news that I had was that I think that we will have had our second doses, and you'll get Trikafta by our 420th episode because
that would be
that's just
tight.
how it works, right?
That would be tight.
Yeah,
do you think Vertex and the government of Canada they were in talks a while ago, but they were like let's just wait for Sick Boys 69.
So I mean I want to say this is probably the worst day I've had of the year. But the fact that it's our 69th Feel Good Friday episode has made it just slightly a little less worse. And also the fact that Trikafta is now available at this point in Canada for those age 12 and over, for patients who have a minimum of one of the CF F508 delta G mutations, which is where I sit. Health Canada says for those under the age of 12, progression and research continue for the approval of younger patients. So we're still we're still a little bit of time out before we see that available for the youngsters. Mm-hmm. According to the Cystic Fibrosis website, this is all from Global News. Trikafta could, over the span of time, reduce the number of people living with severe lung disease by 60% and the number of deaths by 15%. It would also add years of life to those with CF. For example, a child born with the disease could see a decade added to their lives. So I just want to say, now look, it's available to be prescribed, but there's an entirely different conversation now to be had in the coming months about how there's another step, right? So just because it's available to be prescribed, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's going to get their hands on it, right? So although I'm very excited about this huge fucking necessary step that's been taken, I personally, I feel it's bittersweet because I feel like there are a lot of Canadians who are going to get their hands on this that need it. And those are the folks that are set up in a situation in their life where they have the private insurance that makes that available. And those folks will get this drug by the year's end. Like, you know, people with private insurance are likely going to be able to get the drug before, you know, what was said at the last clinic visit I had was like, you know, those folks will probably see the drug in their hands by the fall. But for people like me, where I don't have private insurance, money daddy, maybe we can look into this for the business. But for people like me, I, you know, I'm not getting my hopes up because here's the thing, a drug with a $300,000 US dollar $300,000 US dollar.
I should definitely be the one that takes care of it. 100%.
A $300,000 price tag, and that's US dollars. You know,
or Monopoly money. I think it might be Monopoly money.
Yeah, Canadian Tire money. I've been saving it up. Yeah, that's a big cost, and so you know, who knows what the provinces will cover? That's still an entirely different step. So. Although there's a part of me that feels like maybe I won't get it based on my life circumstances. The fact that the drug is out and the fact that there's going to be children born today with I'm thinking of a good friend of mine who recently had a child that has CF in the last like year or two. And I'm thinking of her and how excited I am that her and her family are living with a child with CF at a time where I would only be so lucky if I was born today. You know, like it's just, it really is like it's a huge fucking milestone. And there's, you know, and this might be something that I think we'll cover in the episodes to come, but like I read an article today about some new evidence of people living with a gene disorder that had been tested through CRISPR that like completely altered their lives. So like we are just on the cusp of some huge transitional periods for people living with genetic disorders. And so
there was big news today about CRISPR.
Yes,
that came through.
That's right. I read that. I read that today. It's basically a genetic disorder where it was a trial that people had been up for a disease that I had never heard of before. And it worked. It just like, they just fucking injected it. It was like, ba-boom.
It had something to do with it being the first time that they had like a major success in a human, in like basically cutting off an illness with gene editing in humans directly.
Yeah.
Are you, but so they're allowed to do this now? Because wasn't that like the moral or ethical sort of reasons around editing gene? You weren't supposed to be doing that in humans yet? Or is it different?
There's a cross section where there's I'm not sure if I'm remembering this correctly. I do have the thing there. I'll just pull it up after I say this, but it's somatic or another type of gene editing. And one is one that when you give it, it stays with the person that has that edit done. They can't pass it on if they have children. Whereas the other one, I think somatic is the one that you don't pass on. I could be totally fucking wrong on that. Sorry, Louise. The other one is the one where if you have that done and you have a child, that child will also have that gene edit. And that's the one that's like super red. Everybody agrees. We don't want to do that right now.
Wait, so does that mean that, because I've heard like some of the things I've heard from the anti-vax community in talking about the mRNA COVID vaccines is that,
and we should give them a platform. We should let them speak.
Anti-vax get loud.
But this is funny because I've heard them. I've heard
get loud.
Like part of the rhetoric that I've heard from them.
I want to see that social media. I want to see their social media.
Wait. But seriously, I've some of the rhetoric that I've heard from the COVID anti-vax community is that the danger with mRNA vaccinations is that it could affect, babies. Like it's changing the genetic makeup of, future babies that are going to be born and stuff. But that sounds like if it's somatic or whatever it's called, is that not possible then? Like do mRNA vaccines not go on to affect the genes of?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because
it's a good question.
Yeah. So anyway, if they do, then if they don't, anti-vaxxers, you guys are fucking dumb as fuck, but we already know that. So I guess
this is
really
this is the snippet from today. It said CRISPR technology, which stands for clustered, regularly interspaced, short palindromic repeats. Thank God they gave it an acronym that actually just sounds like a tasty treat. Was previously restricted to editing cells outside the body or in the eye. It also faced challenges like sticking molecular scissors into the body or slicing DNA in a select number of tissues. Whoa. This time around, researchers injected a CRISPR drug into the blood of people born with transthyretin amyloidosis, a destructive disease that causes fatal nerve and heart disease.
Oh, man.
The results showed that the editing technology was able to nearly shut off production of the toxic protein generated by their livers by knocking the gene's activity.
That's a word that we should try to say on our new TikTok series, Three Idiots Trying to Pronounce Medical Words that we don't know what they are.
Yeah. And folks, if you didn't know, we are on TikTok. This is not a joke. You can go watch our TikToks, and we've been having a ball. We've been having a ball putting these TikToks out.
We've actually been calling each other like every day or second day and meeting up at the park together to plan out TikToks. And it's actually probably the highlight of my day every single day.
Yeah,
so we like getting creative and funny and silly.
Yeah. If you're listening to the podcast and you're the ripe age of 7, join us on TikTok.
Yeah. All our 13-year-olds out there, hop on it. Guys, can I hit you with before you move on there, can I hit you with a hot take on, that I heard today in a conversation that I had.
Love hot takes.
That's like adjacent to the conversation about CF, just because I brought Trikafta up specifically in this. I was talking to a pharmacist today, and
dude, they are so boring.
They don't know anything.
They don't know shit,
right?
They're so boring, right, Tay?
So they are so
right,
boring.
Tay?
They are pharmacists are
little
so
inside
boring.
joke there, because we were at the park the other day talking about TikToks, and then all of a sudden we were talking about pharmacists, and Taylor's like, they're so boring.
There's no entertainment.
But you know what? This pharmacist in particular, he's got a dry funny bone that I really enjoy. I'm not sure if that came out right. So I'm having a conversation with him.
He's got
and
a dry, funny bone.
and I said something along the lines of like, we're talking about drug costs. And he said, like drug companies, obviously like for profit. And this just surprised me because like, this is somebody who's been working in like pharmacology for his whole career, like 30 years.
Yeah.
And he says, drug companies are for profit, obviously. And, no, I'm not like, I don't care that they're for profit. They have their own, they're getting their bag. But he says,
That's
there
what
are,
he said they're getting their bag,
he
no
said,
cap.
he said, fucking slick glizzy guzzlers up in here.
Guys, did I tell you we're on TikTok? You can join our TikTok. We're fucking putting TikToks up. Get glizz and the glizzies and
all my boys pimp chimping out there.
The glibs and the glabs, all about it.
No cap.
So he says they're for profit and whatever, but he says he started bringing off these conditions, like conditions that I had really never heard of. And then he said like this one condition, for example, blah, 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 whatever it was. I think it was like a minor respiratory issue. And he said, like people come in and most people who have this thing, they come in and they're very minorly afflicted by this condition. And it doesn't really pose that much of a problem, but they've got some symptoms. So he prescribed them a drug, and the drug is something that they need to take now forever. And like the day that they come off of it, they're way worse than they were before they got on the drug.
Whoa.
And he just like kind of dropped that as in basically like, yeah, they fucking put you on drugs and then you're never come off of them. You're fucking trapped and you're in prison. And I was like, whoa, what a hot take from a pharmacist.
I know we weren't really going to spend much time diving into this, but like, it's kind of like the Johnson & Johnson shit in the States right now with the whole opioid epidemic. Like
crazy.
they admitted fault and are paying I was going to say a massive fine, but it's really not that massive for them.
Yeah. Minor compared to what some other companies have paid.
Johnson & Johnson's profit, or they generate $82 billion a year in revenue.
Do you know Amazon makes over $100 billion per quarter?
Yeah, well, but like, I mean, these numbers are just insane anyway. But
it makes me really sad that I ordered a fucking dog crate for my new dog donut off Amazon.
Hey,
but
thanks for sending me that link too, because I also use.
It's a good crate. Yeah. So that Johnson & Johnson thing, we're actually going to cover that next week, and we're really excited to kind of dive into that because Tay's been doing a lot of work on some extra videos there on YouTube. And again, just a little plug: if you aren't watching our Feel Good Friday episodes on YouTube, you can do that. Go to YouTube, look up Sick Boy, and you can watch us have some fun like we are having right now. Speaking of fun, this was sent to me by maybe 50 people in the last 2 weeks, and I thought it was pretty fun. Let's talk about prosthetics for a minute. This is not a prosthetic, but it reminds me of one.
My newest invention here is called the Cob Quickie. Hands down the easiest way to butter your corn on the cob on a hot summer day. Simply grab yourself a fresh stick of butter and using our patent-pending firm grip design, place the butter directly onto the center spikes. Then simply go to town buttering your corn on the cob from top to bottom. No matter what your technique is, get the job done this summer when you use the Cob Quickie.
Cob Quickie.
I saw this on whatever. I think I saw it on Instagram. I think Kyla sent it to me maybe. And I never listened to it with sound. I just watched it silent. I just watched that guy jerk off that corn on the cob silently 100 times.
It's so funny. And it did like, the reason I brought that up is because it made me think about
your dad?
My dad's name is Cob, the Cob Quickie. Oh God.
That's
Lauren,
so
you
horrific.
Fucking nasty bitch. It did not make me think about my dad, but it did make me
talking about females.
It did make me think about prosthetics. And then I went down a whole rabbit hole of prosthetics. A video actually, Lauren, that you sent in Slack. And one that I sent to you in Slack a little while back, one of the things talking about Trikafta, right? So we're talking about the innovation surrounding drugs and the innovation when it comes to healthcare. And although the Cob Quickie is not that innovative, it's
pretty innovative.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so. I guess technically it would be.
Not innovative.
It's not. But it was making me think about our friend Brandon, we had a lot of conversations with him about his prosthetics and where he was coming from with that kind of thing, and just seeing the beauty behind prosthetics and the ways that prosthetics over the last at least 6 years, since we've been doing this podcast, have evolved, have been really cool. And for a lot of folks, they rely on these professionals to make these prosthetics, companies that actually build the stuff. And I want to bring to our attention right now this one fella who's kind of he's doing a whole DIY thing when it comes to prosthetics. And I'm taking a second to look him up.
Jared, I was going to say, before you throw to that, what I want to bring attention to is the fact that you somehow managed to make a very smooth segue and transition from a fucking hand that butters a hand-shaped corn butterer to prosthetics, because that is literally nothing to do with prosthetics other than the fact that it is hand-shaped.
Looks like one.
Kind of.
Sort of, yeah.
Kind of. And
welcome to my brain.
I was wondering.
Yeah, that could be an attachment for somebody who has had an amputated.
Well, I was wondering if they have hand job attachments for prosthetics.
Well,
because I remember my mom had a friend. My mom had a friend when
hand job attachments.
When we were kids. That
I got this prosthetic. It's specifically made to jerk you off. Give me 1 second while I attach it.
Well, imagine though, this guy had a hook hand. And have you guys met anybody with a hook hand?
I have.
I don't think so.
I thought they were a myth.
No.
I thought
no.
And I'm talking. I was 7 years old when I met this guy. So when I was 7, I thought they were a myth. And I thought Captain Hook was a made up guy. But turns out he's real, and he was my mom's friend. and he had this hook hand, and I was like, now I mean, I didn't think this when I was 7, but now I'm thinking, I wonder if it would have been beneficial if he was, into jerking guys off if there was a hand job attachment, because. I'm imagining
you thought that then when you were a child?
I thought that now. But I'm imagining you could probably get a motor.
Are we talking about like this kind of hook? Like this?
Maybe
like this here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like Buster. Buster in Arrested Development wears a hook like that.
Yeah. Yeah. See, right? Like,
you wouldn't want to be jerked off by that.
But if you had you could put a motor into one, then your arm would never get tired too. It'd be the perfect. You could jerk off a lot of. You remember it's like that scene from Workaholics. Like, how many dicks could you jerk off? Like, if you had a motorized hand job attachment arm, you could do a lot of dicks. Silicon Valley. Yeah.
I bet that there's a community out there. The internet is such a place that I bet there's a sub community of people that really like being jerked off by those hooks.
That quote is perfect. The internet is such a place. I bet that there is, and you could fucking use that for anything. Well, I bet you this guy. Well, how about this? So this is something I sent to Lauren a while back, and I was hoping to get this guy on the podcast, but I don't think he ever reached out to us. Or Lauren, you just never reached out to him, but I feel like you did, and he just never got back to us. But
that's what happened.
Yeah, I would love to get this guy on the podcast someday. He's like a dream guest of mine. His name's Ian Davis. This guy popped up on Reddit a little while back, and this guy, I hope he's not jerking anyone off with his prosthetic hands, because, well, you guys let me know. Would you want to be jerked off by this? Let's check this out. So this guy DIYs his own prosthetic hand. Look at this thing.
Wow. Dude, that is fantastic.
Would I want to be jerked off by that?
Though.
Dude, that looks like it has a nice firm grip.
Yeah.
He's got robotics in it. He's got 2 AA batteries attached.
Articulate with the lateral motion of my residual limb, just like with my current hand. Although with this version, the display is much more positive.
Dude, this guy could be Rockwell Automation.
Dude, look at this. It's got like bike chains.
But I thought you'd like to see what I've come up with.
Dude, fuck yes. This guy is incredible.
Yeah, that's cool as
How
fuck.
fucking badass is that?
That's really cool.
Now, folks
wild.
that are just listening, if you don't want to go to our YouTube channel, which I highly suggest you do so you can watch that, if you'd rather bypass that like some nincompoop, you can look up Ian Davis on YouTube. He has 456,000 subscribers. And this guy's whole thing is that he's missing one of his hands, obviously, and he has this like DIY shop where he's making his own prosthetics. I mean, this thing is like, it is so wild.
Is he making them for other people too, or is he just like inventing cool shit for himself?
I think it's just like a sort of a Iron Man type scenario where he's just like kind of building it up for himself. But it's like, it's
how does he machine?
Wild.
He must have like his own CNC machine.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I mean, he's obviously some sort of engineer. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Like his YouTube's pretty wild, and he's constantly giving updates. Like once a month, he's giving updates on this like new hand that he's working on.
That's wild.
But
he could have a Patreon.
His last
he could
video,
have a Patreon and make a career out of that.
His last video is Chemo Tuesday again, so he must have cancer. Oh, crazy!
Damn.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Wow, look at this guy's fucking hand. Crazy.
What if he engineers his way out of cancer?
That'd be cool.
He could potentially do that.
I'm not going to put it past him.
The other video that I was referring to that Lauren had put in the Slack was another prosthetic video that was just warmed my heart. And if you're looking for some Feel Good Friday content, this is it right here.
Oh, that's so fucking cute.
She has a prosthetic skip rope.
Oh.
How fucking cute is she? I'm going to play it again.
It's too cute. It's too cute.
It's like, it's just the most adorable thing ever. And it's very specific. Like you can look at it, the way it's built. For folks that are just listening, this little girl, maybe 4, is missing her arm from the elbow down. And her folks, it looked like, have like basically set her up with this prosthetic where it's holding a skip rope. It's specifically made for skipping rope. Her little jump rope. Oh my God, dude.
Oh,
sweetie.
That was adorbies.
Yeah, that's gotta feel so great for her, like being able to do something that she can see other kids doing all the time that she doesn't have the chance to till then. She's so happy.
Yeah, she's and she, you can tell she's very proud of it.
Would be better if they put a motor in that shit so that she could actually skip with it.
Yeah, get her fucking legs going.
To be fair, guys,
the world we live
super
in.
cute video, but hey, she sucked at skipping. I think we
Hey,
can
you guys
all
want
agree
you
at
guys
that,
want
right?
you guys want a hot take? She did suck at skipping. You want a hot take? A world in which Amazon doesn't make $100 billion a quarter is a world where that probably doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's
That's a hot take.
that's a
That's
hot
a very
take.
hot
That's a
take.
hot
That's a hot take. Here's another hot take, and this is fucking fascinating. So this is coming out of the New York Times. Super interesting article, and again about youth and the way that youth are deciding to be I guess defiant in their youth. So like when I was a kid, when I was growing up, and I think Brian, Taylor, Lauren, you guys could probably attest to this. When we were growing up, like
Lauren's like 15.
yeah, right. Lauren, you probably don't get it yet. Give me another 20 years. When we were growing up, like we were trying to keep secrets from our parents that were like, you know, having sex or drinking booze or like smoking the reefer. You know, like those are the things that we were doing that we were trying to keep from our parents because we were being badasses and we were being defiant and we were
being innovative.
Yeah, we were being innovative. We were being little like shit disturbers, and it's like these are the things that, or, you know, shitty grades, whatever. Those are the things that you keep from your parents. Well, in 2021, this fascinating article from the New York Times from Jan Hoffman. As parents forbid COVID shots, defiant teenagers seek ways to get them.
Wait, sorry, what?
The
Parents
title
who
is
forbid getting the vaccine.
As parents forbid COVID shots, defiant teenagers seek ways to get them. Teenagers keep all sorts of secrets from their parents: drinking, sex, lousy grades. But the secret that Elizabeth, 17, a rising high school senior, keeps from hers is new to the buffet of adolescent misdeeds. She doesn't want her parents to know that she's been vaccinated against COVID-19. Her divorced parents have equal say over her healthcare. Although her mother strongly favors the vaccine, her father angrily opposes it and has threatened to sue her mother if Elizabeth gets the shot. Elizabeth is keeping her secret not only from her father, but also her mother, so her mom can have plausible deniability.
Until this article drops and we expose it all.
Boom! You getting fucking grounded tonight, Elizabeth. The vaccination of children is crucial to achieving broad immunity to the coronavirus and returning to normal school and work routines. But though COVID vaccines have been authorized for children as young as 12, many parents worried about the side effects and frightened by the newness of the shots have held off from permitting their children to get them, which that makes sense a little bit.
Frightened by their lack of research.
Yeah. A recent poll, this is pretty interesting. A recent poll.
Their own personal lack of research.
Yeah.
A recent poll by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that only 3 in 10 parents, this is staggering, 3 in 10 parents of children between the ages of 12 through 17 intend to allow them to be vaccinated immediately. Many say that they will wait for long-term safety data or the prod of a school mandate. But with many teenagers eager to get the shots that they see as unlocking freedoms denied during the pandemic, tensions are crackling in homes in which parents are holding to a hard no.
Man, I can't believe that there is so much focus around like the you get your second dose and now all of a sudden you have access to all these other things in society that have been previously forbidden to or only allowed to people who have 2 doses. Like, I can't believe that has to be a motivating factor for some people. I mean, this goes back into like the conversation that we were having about incentives, like the lotteries and shit like that. But man, I can't understand why people don't just look at this and go, hey, we're in a global fucking pandemic and
this
we've
is a
been
necessity.
In lockdown for like 16 months. And this is the answer to no longer be in
guys,
that.
have you been watching. I watched the Montreal Tampa game one of the Cup Finals.
It was insane
Last night.
The whole fucking Tilly there. You see Tilly there? Snap the
Tilly was
snizzle.
there. He was snapping. All lines were firing. Everybody.
Yeah, I saw Sully dump it in deep, chase the puck,
dude,
win all the battles in the corner. Yep.
And
Sports.
And I mean, Canada, the government is running like, I don't watch cable ever. So like on the odd time that I turn on TSN for a sport or CBC now to watch the playoffs, you see you get tuned into like the ad campaigns that are going on around COVID and the vaccine and like dispelling, vaccine myths. And they just got like, and a lot of them are focusing on these like really commonly misunderstood thing, like newness. They're like, it happened fast because like, this is why it happened fast. And they just say it. Yeah. And it really, when, I know that this is happening because we talk about this on a regular basis about, the incentives and everything and the hesitancy. And we have talked to, experts and about hesitancy and why people feel this way. But I don't know, there's something different about realizing that the government is taking out ads on like probably the most watched thing in Canada right now, the Stanley Cup playoffs with a Canadian team in it, to try and show people like, hey, and with basically this tinge of like, I'm not really sure where you came up with the idea that this made it bad.
Oh, really? There's a bit of a sassiness to it.
No.
They're like, listen up, fuckos.
No, but you know what I mean? Because all of those things that people,
it's like a shame that we have to do this, but this is a thing.
Because it's not like the medical community at any point, the scientific community came out at any point and they were like, this is really new. So like we should be extra. Like it's just people who don't really know anything, who are hesitant.
Yeah.
And then the hesitancy then like bleeds into like misinformation that gets like that spreads.
But
like
honestly,
wildfire.
dude, honestly though, I had this thought the other day when I was walking up at the studio. I was like, I got my first vaccine. Second one's coming up in a few weeks. How crazy would it be if my dick fell off in the next like week?
I mean, that would
and then your dick fell off and your dick fell off. Like,
but you know what's crazy? What's crazy is that all you have to do, Jer, is then.
And Lauren like, grew a dick out of her nose. Like,
take a story, an Instagram story, and be like, how crazy would it be if my dick falls off? And then one other person then it becomes a game of telephone where one other person's like, hey, I heard your dick might fall off. But the other thing, though, and then it goes from a joke to being something that somebody's like,
telephone.
Your dick will fall off. And then you'll become that fucking pastor who thinks that there's, Biden's running the sex ring under the White House.
Right.
But honestly, I kind of want to like emphasize the point that it's okay. Like, or I want to say that it's okay to be vaccine hesitant.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to feel that way, but the answers to your questions are out there, and you might not feel 100% confident.
They exist on YouTube. Go to play. I watched a documentary the other day on YouTube called Plandemic.
No, stop.
But the answers exist, dude.
But the other point is the thing that I find so ironic is that the people who say this shit, who are super vaccine hesitant and anti-vax, like more specifically anti-vax. The thing that I find so ironic is that they're like, yeah, well, have you really looked into it? Because there's all these sources saying these things. And it's like, well, if you're really critical, if you're really looking at this information critically, then you will go and find the opposing views to what you're reading and seeing online.
Any questions?
You'll look into it.
You get that,
you'll look into both. and you'll see that, probably there's a very logical answer to what you think might be some sort of red flag or indicator that these vaccines aren't going to work or are bad for you.
Well, I thought this was really interesting. Further down in that New York Times article, they go on to talk about the ages of consent for getting the vaccine. 40 states require parental consent for vaccination of minors under 18, and Nebraska sets the age at 19. Some states carve out exemptions for teenagers who are homeless or emancipated. Now, because of the COVID crisis, some states and cities are seeking to relax medical consent rules, emulating statutes that permit minors to obtain the HPV vaccine, which prevents some cancers caused by sexually transmitted virus. Last fall, the District of Columbia voted to allow children as young as 11 to get recommended vaccines without parental consent.
Whoa.
Can you imagine an 11-year-old walking into a vaccine clinic without any parents just being like, I did my research. I'm here to do it. Like I saw it on
what's
TikTok.
Interesting though is my initial gut reaction to that is like, that's fucking crazy. But when I think about it, I remember there was this girl that I was in, that I went to school with in junior high who was like incredibly mature and responsible compared to all of our peers at that time.
Yeah.
And it turned out that she was in she had a really rough childhood and she had moved out on her own, had gotten permission to work under the minimum age, was working and living in an apartment on her own in like grade 9.
Whoa.
So she was emancipated? Did she like legally go through the process?
I think so. I was too young to like really understand the situation, but I knew that she was living in an apartment on her own, working and was like this was way more mature than everybody.
She'd have gotten the vax. She would have been vaxxed up.
And so well, I think of that and I'm like, that person sort of, and I know that like, you're kind of making rules. You have to be considerate of these populations of people who are very vulnerable. And, she wasn't quite 11, but she was probably like 14 at the time. And like having that autonomy for yourself for her was probably really important to keep her out of, harm's way of like her family members who were, possibly causing a lot of harm in her life.
That was DC, DC. New York and New Jersey legislatures have bills pending that would allow children as young as 14 to consent to vaccines. Minnesota has one that would permit some children as young as 12 to consent to COVID shots, which I think is great.
I wonder how new those things are, or if they're
pretty
newly implemented.
Because I think they're new because New Jersey and New York have bills that are pending to go through with it that young. Again, a lot of these states require minors under the age of 18 or 19 in Nebraska's situation to have they need parental consent.
What do you guys think about
the HPV thing? Like that was something that they were going, okay, well, these kids are fucking. Like kids are out there fucking. Yeah. So we need to prevent them from contract like HPV. Everyone has HPV. So we gotta lower that age so that they can come in and get HPV shots in order to prevent them from getting HPV. And they made those changes.
What do you guys think with the consent rules, like lowering the age for COVID vaccines? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's potentially dangerous?
I mean, I think, for the thing about vaccines in general, like we have vaccines for some things that are like, we got vaccines because these things in particular, I mean, there's plenty of things that can kill people that we don't have medications for and vaccines for. But some of the things that we do have vaccines for, like all the shit that you get vaccinated for when you're a child, when you're born, and now COVID, are things that are like, they're not only seriously detrimental to you, they're seriously detrimental to everybody around you and the whole population of people that you live around and the whole population of the earth in COVID, and massive populations in terms of polio, and like mumps and measles and shit like that. But like, so at the same time as I feel like it makes sense that there's some laws in certain places, I don't necessarily disagree that a parent should be able to look out for the health and well-being and have that, or have a say in what a child is doing, what we consider to be a child, being 18. But I feel like people are able to make decisions a lot younger than that. But like in this case, I mean, fuck, dude, these things are so important for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, the article goes on to state, but other states are marching in the opposite direction. Although South Carolina teenagers can consent at 16, and doctors may perform certain medically necessary procedures without parental permission on even younger children, a bill in the legislature would explicitly bar providers from giving the COVID shot without parental consent to minors. In Oregon, where the age of medical consent is 15, Lynn County ordered county-run clinics to obtain parental consent for the COVID vaccine under 18. And according to the National Conference of State Legislatures, which has been tracking COVID-related bills, some states like Tennessee and Alabama are actually working on legislation to prevent public schools from requiring COVID shots. And this whole thing, the issue of who can consent to the COVID shots, is providing this fresh context for a decades-old legal, ethical, and medical question, which is when parents disagree, who is the arbiter? At what age are children capable of making their own health decisions, and how should that be determined? You know, it's like you're talking to, sure, a 16-year-old who is technically a minor, but that 16-year-old is like, okay, mom and dad are telling me they don't want me to do this thing, but like, it's my fucking body. Like it's my health. It's my, you know,
I mean, it falls similarly in line with like drinking age and stuff like that.
You know? Abortion.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. You know, like
I guess, I don't know. It's hard because like I'm thinking of the flu shot, for example. Like if you needed your parents' consent to get a flu shot, like, you know, the flu shot is universally accepted as, I think mostly universally accepted as being a safe. Is a flu shot considered a vaccine?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a vaccination.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we generally consider that it's a really good thing to get a flu shot. I think everybody mostly agrees on that. It's safe. We do it annually. But like, do you think that should kids need their parents' consent to get that? And like, does it change if the vaccination is this like newer vaccine that is a little bit scarier to some of the public that people are hesitant about because they don't quite understand it? Like, does that change whether or not there should be an age and consent?
This is really interesting.
Because it is like, this is what is happening is that the sort of newness of this and the uniqueness of this situation is changing the laws around this.
Well, and not only changing the laws, but that we're seeing new, sort of like, and again, back to this article, like ways that kids are skirting the rules. Increasingly frustrated teenagers are searching for ways to be vaccinated without their parents' consent. Some have found their way to vaxteen.org, a vaccine information site run by Kelly Danielpour, a Los Angeles teenager. The site offers guides to state consent laws, links to clinics, resources on straightforward information about COVID-19, and advice for how teenagers can engage parents.
Man, it makes me think about how crucial education is, because like it sucks that, you know, getting vaccinated is an important thing for everybody around the globe. If there was somebody who wanted to get vaccinated and there was another person who had a say in their life and said that they couldn't, that seems like a fucked up situation at any age. Yeah. Of course, I understand consent, but also as somebody who strongly believes that everybody needs to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. Anybody sort of hindering that seems fucking crazy. But
it's information overload, man. There's too much information.
We just need like access to good quality.
You know what's really interesting about
resources
that vaccine.org is that Miss Danielpour, who made it, she was quoted saying, "Someone will ask me, quote, I need to be able to consent at a vaccine clinic that is open on weekends and that is on my bus route. Can you help?" Said Miss Danielpour, 18, who will begin her freshman year at Stanford in the fall. She started the site 2 years ago, so long before COVID. The daughter of a pediatric neurosurgeon and an intellectual property lawyer, she realized that most adolescents know neither the recommended vaccine schedule nor their rights. So that she started this because she was just seeing teens that were in a situation where they were like, "What the fuck do I do?" Like,
she was bought by Bill Gates and it was planted here.
Yeah, or she's bought and paid for. Exactly.
Well, maybe it goes back to Gardasil, because I remember because I grew up in Texas, and I remember Gardasil when that started to be offered in more of like an expected vaccination to get. And when I was growing up, it was like just for for young women, which like now it's for everybody, which is
that
great.
HPV?
What's Gardasil? Is
Yeah.
that the HPV one?
That's the HPV
Yeah.
vaccination.
Exactly. Yeah. And I remembered getting it, and I remember my doctor having conversations with my mom about it. I don't really remember the tone or whatever. My parents are like very science forward and stuff, but my mom might have like been hesitant at the time. But I think that it might be to do with that. It's really interesting that she started that site 2 years before the pandemic happened, because it's like anti-vax sentiment and like vaccine hesitancy. Like obviously it's been an issue since well before the pandemic started. So
yeah. And that's the thing, like what you just said, Lo, like it's totally fine and totally normal to be like concerned about something that your kid is going to get, a medication that your kid's going to get stuck with. But like, well, that's fine. But the answers are out there.
Yeah,
like,
it exists.
It's not unclear.
But like,
it's not it's not what I guess it is. It can be, or it can feel like it's buried under mountains of, fucking goop blogs and whatever.
Well, it kind of fucking sucks when like, you like to think that these companies aren't up to nefarious things. And you hear about like the Johnson & Johnson shit where they've been pushing opiates and then all of a sudden you're like, well, fuck, I trusted that company. Like, and that's what we're having to do in this situation. But like, it isn't just about the company. It is about the science. Like there's like, you can look at the science. I mean, if you looked at the science of whether or not opioids were addictive, 10 years ago, you would have been like, oh, fuck. Yeah. The science says that this is a bad thing.
Well, let's not forget in a month or two, our dicks could fall off.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I think that's one of the things that we got to keep in mind is that our dicks still could fall off.
Maybe this is better for the global warming crisis, because there are the group of anti-vaxxers that aren't getting vaccinated. They'll all be okay, and then the population of the world will be okay, and therefore
this is the massive call that we need.
This is actually how we were stopping the environmental crisis. This is all Greta Thunberg is running this whole fucking Greta and fucking Bill Gates got together, microchipped us all.
But like speaking of, but to your point about like the conspiracy aspect to it, and Tay, like your musings, like, oh, there's so much information. Like, why don't people understand that this vaccine will protect you and other people against this disease? Like, when there's people that don't even believe that COVID is real, then what does a vaccine serve? What purpose does it serve for a fucking made up disease? So they're so far gone.
There was a poll that half, I think it was 51 or 53% of Americans, based on a fucking poll, which could be way off. I'm not really super huge.
53% of Republicans.
It was actually higher than that. But this is a separate thing. This wasn't based on political affiliation. It was 51 or 53% of Americans thought that COVID, the pandemic, is over in the U.S.
Well, they're acting like it.
They're definitely acting like it, and it's definitely on its way out, I think. But
I was gonna. Yeah.
Oh, what were you going to say, Brian?
Well, I was going to say about the hockey game, because you said, did you watch the hockey game? And when I was watching it, looking at everybody sitting in that fucking building with no masks on, and like assuming a lot of them are all, I
think it's like most of them. I think the whole thing is like, you kind of have to be vaccinated.
Because like
but that scene is also very hopeful. It's also very hopeful.
I know, right?
And you want to believe, and you want to go, fuck, man, I hope that this is...
You want to be back to normal.
I hope that this is good, and I hope that this is what we're looking forward to in the not too distant future, because hopefully... And you know what? I mean, I guess it's kind of like you're looking at the states and going, okay, like you go first.
Yeah.
Like, let's see how what you do. Let's see what happens. Like you step off. You do like you're gonna do the cliff. You do the cliff jump first, and I'll go. To be fair, you go and don't die.
To be fair, if they're fine, it's not like we're gonna sit back here and go, well, I don't know. We should still be extra cautious and be in lockdown. We're gonna look at it and go, okay, thank God it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Well, that was an interesting little piece there on teens being teens, just pesky little teens. But I would like to move on to our final little piece today. Before we get into what the health, are you guys familiar with the concept of thinking in 3D?
I don't think so, but I like the idea of it already.
Is that like lateral thinking?
Yeah, I thought I already did, but I maybe not.
No, maybe not. So it's basically like a form of like spatial awareness or spatial thinking, right? So this is actually from dyslexicadvantage.org. It's a article about thinking in 3D. Dyslexic people are more likely able to visualize in 3 dimensions, turning over what they see in their minds. When Brock and I interviewed James Russell, the inventor of the compact disc, he told us that he was able to design his inventions in vivid detail in his mind, running experiments on them and tweaking them before he even picked up a tool. So it's like this idea of being able to imagine something in 3D and like alter it and turn it. And like, I don't have this ability. I read this article earlier and I tried to think this way. And I don't think it's in me. I think mostly because I went to school to study acting.
I feel like I think this way a little bit because I've been using so much 3D modeling software that it makes me like I can imagine what you're saying. I don't think I have the vivid sort of sense that you're describing here, but I can definitely imagine it.
So this idea of like I can form 3D spatial images in my mind and I can manipulate them at will and view them from all angles. People who are dyslexic, 48.52% of people who are dyslexic have this ability, according to a study. People who are not dyslexic, 59.39% of people strongly disagree that they don't have this ability. And so, not surprisingly, spatial abilities are correlated with higher performances in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Dyslexic students who may appear undistinguished or in the middle of a pack in routine language heavy classes may pop up in middle school or high school with top of the class abilities in STEM classes because of their spatial expertise and problem solving abilities. So, according to looking at the mean spatial scores by occupation, the lowest scores in this study that was presented based on like the ability to imagine in 3D, the lowest scores were people with occupations that are within education, law, social sciences, and humanities. Mm-hmm. People with the highest ability to visualize in 3D are engineers, people in computer sciences, physical sciences, visual arts is also within there. That makes a lot of sense. So, Bri, like that would make a lot of sense for you. Mm-hmm. So this idea of thinking in 3D is an ability that some of us have and some of us don't have, right? Well, this leads me into this week's segment of What the Hell?
That was a good one. I like how you're keeping it up. I like it.
So this is a case study.
I wish I could be in the car next to the person who's listening to Sick Boy for the first time and just heard you said was like, "Oh fuck, ow, Jesus,
so
God, what is this? Fuck was that?"
So this is an article that I found about a case study. The title of the article was Sudoku seizures. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh, I love Sudoku.
Yeah. Well, you know that expression, too much of a good thing? Well, that applies to this next case. A young man in Germany completed so many Sudoku puzzles, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's a logic game that may help sharpen memory. He did so many of them that he began to have seizures.
Hot.
Of course,
that is pretty hot.
That is only part of the story. So the man had been an avid Sudoku solver for some time before experiencing such seizures, but that changed after he was trapped in an avalanche during a ski trip.
Whoa.
He was eventually...
I have to say, that is probably one of the scariest things that I could ever imagine.
Horrifying.
Like, if even just thinking, using my 3D spatial awareness to visualize being on a mountain and what it would be like to be swallowed by a tsunami of snow.
Yeah. So
was he doing a Sudoku inside the avalanche while he was waiting for help?
That's what I was thinking when I was reading this article. I was like, was he just in there like waiting to be rescued going, I'll do Sudoku.
His hands by his face.
He was swallowed up by an avalanche. He was eventually rescued. But while he was buried under the snow, the man experienced a condition known as hypoxia. in which the body tissues and brain don't receive enough oxygen, which makes a lot of sense since he was buried under the snow. This condition caused the man to develop sudden muscle twitches around his mouth when he talked and the muscles of his legs when he walked. He also experienced spontaneous seizures in his left arm. Doctors prescribed epileptic, I think I have dyslexia, but I don't have 3D spatial awareness, anti-epileptic medications and thought they had these seizures under control.
Wait, but he experienced a seizure just in his arm?
Just in his left arm.
I didn't know you could, like, imagine looking at that. Like,
he's just
like
he's
looking
just
at your arm, just
all of
have
a
a
sudden
seizure?
Fuck. He got Tourette's in his left arm. So he was having all these seizure problems. They put him on anti-epileptic meds, and they were like, "Cool, we took care of it. You're all set." However, a few weeks after he was discharged from the hospital, the man began having seizures in his left arm again, but only when he did Sudoku puzzles.
Whoa.
Eventually, doctors got to the root of the problem. The man had a very intense three-dimensional imagination that was activated whenever he did Sudoku, whenever he did these like brain-stimulating puzzles. And the part of his brain that he used when thinking about things in 3D happened to be the part of his brain that was most affected by his 15 minutes of oxygen deprivation under the snow.
Damn.
So overacting this damaged part of his brain was what caused the man's seizures. And unfortunately, he had to give up Sudoku in order to make a full recovery.
Oh, well, there's always crosswords, but
What do you do when you travel? Yeah, crosswords are for fucking linear thinkers, dude.
Yeah, get bananagrams, bro. Get bananagrams.
Fucking love bananagrams.
How
Maddie and I
fucking
love
wild
bananagrams.
is that? That's pretty interesting, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It
That's a
does
bummer.
suck. Yeah,
Like,
I hope he found a new hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He makes
Do you guys who like do any of you guys play Sudoku?
I used to.
I've done Sudokus before.
Yeah.
Yep.
I used to think about how often did you guys used to do that stuff all the time before you had a cell phone and like especially traveling?
Yeah.
Totally.
Like being on a plane for an extended period of time.
I still do it. I still do it now. I have a Sudoku book that I take when I travel.
That's such an
Yeah,
old
well,
man
let's
thing
hope
to
you
do,
don't
and
get
I'm
caught in
not
an
surprised.
avalanche and
Yeah,
lose
do it, actually.
oxygen to your brain, so you never be able to do that again.
God, hope so.
Folks, love sitting down and shooting the shit with all of you every Friday, whether that be here on YouTube, and you can leave comments below on your thoughts surrounding anything we talked about today, whether that be Trikafta.
I mean, let's light it up about vaccines.
The Cob
let's
Quickie.
light it up.
Vaccines in teens, or Sudoku causing seizures. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. And hey, listen, if you're just not a YouTuber, but you've been listening anyway, since you're listening to this right now, and you've been tuning in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we thank you. You can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That would mean the world to us. Or you can just hit that follow button on Spotify so that you know when episodes are coming up every single week.
And if you are not following us on YouTube and watching, you should definitely subscribe because in the next little bit, Jerry, you're gonna have a new puppy. I'm getting a new puppy, and we're gonna bring those puppies in here, and they're just gonna be sitting on our laps, and we're gonna cuddle the shit out of them.
Puppies.
Guys, I have a dog. He's 5.
Your dog doesn't like other dogs, so I don't know, man. I feel like your dog's just gonna bully our dog.
He doesn't not like other dogs. He just doesn't.
He just has to get there second.
He just doesn't care about them.
He just has to get there. He just has to arrive to the space after.
Yeah, I think Loki is going to make great friends with Kevin and Donut.
I hope so. Did you settle on Kevin? Is that the name?
No, I haven't yet. I don't think his name's gonna be Kevin.
Kevin's a good name. Kevin's a good name.
I like Kevin too, but I don't think that'll be his name.
That is correct. In 10 days, Donut will be a part of the studio, and there will be lots of puppy action. So if you are not subscribed to YouTube, highly suggest you do that right fucking now because you're gonna love it. Hey, Lo, I heard we had a couple letters coming this week. There's one that we'll probably read next week, which is about no burp, but we'll save that this week. Let's read the speaking of dogs, this very sweet letter that came in from Lisa.
And death.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of dogs, this one's about dead ones, but it's real sweet.
Oh,
So this actually, it was really heartwarming. So this letter came to us from Lisa. On the latest Sick Boy episode, which is the one at the time she would have written it, it was the one with Lucy Kalanithi.
Yes,
for reference.
Beautiful episode.
Mm-hmm.
On the latest Sick Boy episode, when you were talking about your experience with that moment of loss of Big B, it's like you had climbed into my consciousness and were accessing my thoughts. I went through the same thing with the loss of my dog Maggie almost 7 months ago. So sorry for your loss, Lisa. I had made the euthanasia appointment. I knew what was happening. She had been sick for a long time, and I thought I had come to terms with it. But that moment of death is so fucked up. It's so final and irreversible. Obviously, we all know this in theory. It was not exactly a surprise, but I was surprised at the feeling of it. Experiencing death right in front of you is so real. Where did she go? The word where is no longer applicable. For several days afterwards, I was repeatedly astounded by the fact that she was gone. She was really not here anymore, and I would never see her again. I kept stating that fact over and over again, trying to get that fact to coalesce and integrate itself into my mind. It was so weird to be unable to truly wrap my head around this obvious fact. The logical part of my brain understood what had happened, but the other part of my brain did not have the capacity to understand the sudden disappearance. It's been almost 7 months now, and slowly over time, that part of my brain has understood that she's gone. Oh man, what a fucking trip. And yeah, love Lisa.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Death is always something that is hard to manage and grasp and wrap our heads around, and it's one of the reasons why we talk about death so much on this podcast. So your thoughts there really did mean the world to us, and we're so glad that you took time to sit down and type that up and send that to letters at sickboypodcast.
Yeah, grief is the price you pay for love.
That's right.
If you have any letters that you think that would definitely not make us want to cry, then you could send them to letters@sickboypodcast.com. If you want to be a guest on the shows, like a vet or something, puts dogs down. You could do that on the Sick Boy podcast.
Oh, that'd be an interesting Feel Good Friday, huh? My job is I just euthanize. I just euthanize sheltered dogs. It's a hard life.
You probably have to.
That's not sad at all,
man.
That's a PTSD episode that we are looking forward to down the road. So, folks, I hope you love listening to this show.
That should be the guys, honestly, for when we get our new puppies in the studio, we should have a vet on that puts down dogs so we can talk about what it's like to go through the grieving process of losing a dog, because
I'm good.
I think could be really valuable.
I think it's way harder than losing a human.
Okay, man.
That's coming from the sociopath of the group, so that's
I'm
fair.
with you, Tay. I feel it.
Guys, I just want to say a huge thank you for the people who make this show happen. That would be Lauren Sankey right down here, Taylor McGilvery up here if you're watching on YouTube, and Jeremy Saunders, and me, Brian Stever. A huge thank you to our manager, Jeff Lonis, for all the work that he does behind the scenes, helping us out. Thanks to Rich O'Coin for the theme music, and to all the other folks who helped this show happen on the other days of the week.
Thank you.
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.